Hello everyone, I'm Joseph Calamia and I would like to show you my final draft for my coat of arms in VCOM 392. I was initially going to draw an emblem beginning with tracing, but I decided to use Photoshop in order to make a collage for my coat of arms. I admit I'm not one of the best artists in the world, so I decided to compensate with my skills in Photoshop. Before I decided to make a final draft of my emblem, I decided to use some paper to draw over and try to compile some ideas in order to get everything I needed for the project. This would involve trying to find the right size for each of the images that I wanted to place in, determining what colors I wanted to put and how I could represent it. More importantly, also to just see how I can get everything all together. Instead of using a traditional shield or crest as my base, I decided to use a sort of puzzle piece as my base in order to put all my pieces together. The reason I chose to do this was to represent one of the aspects of my life, autism. I grew up with high-functioning autism when I was about 7, which I had to attend various motor and physical therapies during my elementary and middle school time. It didn't negatively impact me. It was the opposite. It actually made me pretty proud. I'm proud because my autism allowed me to be more creative and help stand out. That actually was also inspired my lower thing. You see, in my in the lower crest area of my coat of arms, I have my motto, which is non est secluus ut advertus grano, which is Latin for "it's not a crime to go against the grain." Which, for the puzzle piece, I decided to use multiple colors to also represent the idea of autism from most pieces of a puzzle piece. Anywho, so I'm trying to just start off with the centerpiece with the color purple to represent not only my creativity, but my sort of sovereignty for my ancestry. In high school, I did my own genealogy when I was about 17, so I wanted to learn a little bit more about my family and what made me unique. So I have both a fleur-de-lis in the center, which represents my French Canadian roots on my mother's side, whereas the 3 stars represent my father's side. During my studies in high school, I found my family crest on Ancestry.com, which was a Sicilian one, which featured 3 stars. It also represents the idea that in the middle of being a middle child, because I'm the second of three sons. Another thing is that I'm also had the colors purple and gold to represent my favorite football team, LSU Tigers from Louisiana State University. The lower left of the puzzle piece represents my older brother, Thomas, a fellow Winthrop graduate. I chose to use the color green not only to represent hope, but also to represent one of his favorite superheroes, Green Lantern. I also used the Green Lantern logo, which represents his love of comic books and graphic novels, as well as a D20 dice, because my brother not only plays Dungeons & Dragons, but he also hosts Dungeons & Dragons games as a sort of dungeon master, which is really cool. The lower right represents my little brother, Christopher, who's different in every different way, that's why I chose the color of orange, because not only is his favorite color, but also to represent ambition, because he has a guitar, which represents his love of music, and that he has a lot of guitar music, or particularly a bass, a guitar, an acoustic, a ukulele, and a sitar, and also a basketball to represent his love of basketball, or particularly the NBA. Now, going up to the top is more of my interests. The top left image in a silver background is a cross-country shoe, which I use the color silver to represent peace, which is one of the reasons that I love cross-country, is because where I get a sense of peace. But I did cross-country when I was in high school, which I lettered twice, once in my senior year and once in my sophomore year. And I occasionally run sometimes in order to clear my thoughts and help exercise. To the top right is an image of a film reel, to represent one of my earnest passions and interests, which is film and media. While I like anime, cartoons, and TV shows, such as classics, I have a sort of love or ode to old or classic movies like Star Wars, The Magnificent Seven, and 12 Angry Men. I appreciate classic movies, which I chose the reason of, or color of gold there to represent and wisdom, as since when I like to look up a TV show or look up a movie, I like to know more about the facts, like who played what actor, who was the protagonist, what the story was, and more importantly, what year it came out. The top image in the field of blue represents is a quill with an ink thing, which represents one of my goals, which is to become a writer, either writing like articles as a sort of newspaper or a online writer, or to go be a story writer, which is to write novels. In fact, I wrote a book over the summer before my junior year, and I'm waiting to hopefully get it published as soon as I graduate. The reason I chose the color blue was to represent strength, which, although I am still learning, I consider writing one of my strengths. I'm also part of the newspaper staff. Finally, the image I decided to do at the bottom in a field of red, which is a cattails reed. Not only does the cattails reed remind me of going to the beach or in North Carolina, on a little island called Baldhead Island, and I decided to choose the reed because while I was looking up my ancestry, I looked up that my last name, Calamia, comes from the Greek word Calamia, which is the plural form of the word kalamos, or reed. So I decided to incorporate a little bit of my heritage. Anyways, that concludes my overview of my emblem. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you around again soon. Thank you very much.